Uh, Good evening. I'm Coach Shard. So for tonight, we would have our third episode for our specialization series. So for tonight's session, we are going to discuss on small biology and genetics. So let's have our first item for molecular biology and genetics. So number 41, the study and science of heredity is called pathology, pediatrics, genetics, or geriatrics. Type in your answers. Okay, very good. The answer is genetics. Okay, so when we talk about pathology, this is diseases. And then from the name pediatrics, so these are for kids and children. And then for geriatrics, these are for elderly. Then we move on with the next item. Which word refers to the precise site of a gene in a chromosome? Is it allele, codon, locus, or nucleotide? Okay, key in your answers. Okay, so when we refer to the precise site of a gene, we call it the locus. At ano ba yung codon? Codon is in your mRNA sequence, you would have three nucleotide, and these would be used by the ribosomes in encoding it or translating it into an amino acid part of your polypeptide. So before we proceed in our next item, let us define some of the terms used in genetics. So genetics is the study of heredity and genes. So heredity is the process of transmitting genetic information from the parent to offspring, while your gene is the functional unit of heredity. So how do we have traits? We pass them through genes. At ang genes natin can have different variations. Example, let's say a brown eye and a blue eye. Brown eye is a dominant trait, while a blue eye is a recessive trait. So if present yung dalawang yon, ibig sabihin, both of the alleles of a brown eye and blue eye is present in the organism. But we bear in mind that the manifestation of traits would be dependent if homozygous siya na dominant or heterozygous dominant siya. So the dominant trait would manifest to the organism. Unless homozygous recessive siya, so dun pa lang magmamanifest yung recessive trait. So if you're looking for the location of the gene in a chromosome, yun yung tinatawag natin na locus. And bear in mind that we have 23 pairs of chromosomes in our body for somatic cells. And then for the sex gametes, like your sperm cells and egg cells, we have around 23. So hindi siya nakapares. But when your ovum and your sperm cell unite, they would form your 46 chromosome. So paired na siya. At yung chromosome mo, it's a structure of your heteropolymer of nucleotides that would contain the genetic information. There was a question in the previous licensure exam na ang tanong ay, how was the traits passed down from parents to offspring at wala yung gene? So the best answer in that case would be chromosome. So speaking of other terms, papasok din dito yung genotype and phenotype. So let's have this illustration of a purple flower and a white flower. So our dominant trait here is your purple flower, and then your recessive trait is the white flower. So kapag sinabi mong phenotype, ito yung ma-observe natin dun sa organism. Like for instance, you have two purple flower and you have one white flower. So, kung titingnan natin, yung characteristic niya, purple at saka white. But, if you would go on the genotype, ano bang meron nasa genes ng organism? So, you have homozygous dominant na purple, tapos you have heterozygous dominant na purple, at meron tayong homozygous recessive na white. Okay? There was also a question in the previous let na sasabihin niya, you have a plant from genetic engineering or biotech, and you would be asked, alin dito sa mga given options would be easier to distinguish. Ang best answer doon ay phenotypic characteristic. Kasi yung phenotypic characteristic, makikita mo as is kung ano yung type of coloration ng flower niya or possibly the type of the seeds, like kung pea plant siya, etc. Okay? So yung genotype, kailangan mo pa ng DNA analysis to see the combination of allele. Okay? Let's proceed with item number 43. So in a typical human somatic or body cell, how many chromosomes are usually present? So are there 23 pairs of chromosomes, 23 single chromosomes, 46 pairs of chromosomes, or 46 single chromosome? Okay, key in your answers. Okay, very good. We should answer 23 pairs of chromosomes. Kasi kapag sinabi mong 46 single chromosome lang, it is ambiguous. So mas explicit or mas distinct yung 23 pairs of chromosomes. And bear in mind that the first two 22nd chromosomes are your body chromosomes or autosomes. And then your 23rd pair is your sex chromosome. So you have an XX for female and then an XY for male. Next, we proceed with item 44. Which genetic term pertains to the physical appearance of an individual? Is it genotype, phenotype, haplotype, or clone? Okay, very good. It should be genotype. Ano ang clone? Pag sinabi mong clone, it's a carbon copy of the organism. So this might be a produce of cloning or binary fission or possibly produced by tissue culture. Okay? So same siya ng genetic makeup with the parent organism. Let's proceed with item 45. Of the following, which is not one of the reasons why Mendel selected garden peas for his experiments? So we have four options. They reproduce at a fast rate. Letter B, they need much caring and cultivating. Letter C, they exhibit contrasting traits. Letter D, their flowers are structurally adapted for self-pollination. Okay, so before we answer this item, punta muna tayo sa Mendelian genetics. From the name itself, Mendelian genetics, these are laws in genetics that were devised by Gregor Mendel. So he's the father of modern genetics. Ang ginamit niya ay yung Pisum sativum. Bakit ginamit niya yung Pisum sativum? Una, they are easy to cultivate at madali yung generation nila ng pag-grow. So, you can study them from first generation, second, up to the succeeding generations. And number three would be yung mga characteristic ng pod, ng seed, okay, ng color nila is present or easily distinguishable dun sa pea plants. At number four would be yung characteristic ng flower niya. Remember, Gregor Mendel was trying to study genetics, so more on inheritance. So yung flower ng pea plants, capable siya to do self-pollination. And when plant do self-pollination, they would produce purebred plant. At pwede din siyang i-cross-pollinate. So when we cross-pollinate the plants or when Gregor Mendel cross-pollinated the pea plants, he was able to produce a hybrid pea plants and these would manifest different characteristics depending kung sino yung dominant. Okay? So ano yung mga laws niya? We have law of segregation, law of independent assortment, and law of dominance. So before we dig deeper on the three laws of Mendelian genetics, let's go back to item 45. So I have mentioned yung mga reasons nung why Gregor Mendel used Pisum sativum as part of his study. So ang sagot dito ay kasi ang hinahanap ay not. So in the actual licensure exam, please take note of the word not, all but one, except i-highlight nyo sila by encircling them kasi hindi sila naka-highlight in the licensure exam and you might miss them. Ang hinahanap pala ay mali at ang masagot nyo ay tama. So we are looking for an incorrect answer. So our best answer here should be letter B. They did much caring and cultivating. So that's not the reason why Gregor Mendel used pea plants in his study of uh, Mendelian genetics. So ano bang meron sa Mendelian genetics? Punta muna tayo sa law of segregation. Remember, we have sex gametes. So sa pea plants, you have the what? The pollen and your ovule. Okay, your pollen is the male gamete while your ovule is the female gamete. So yung characteristic ng organisms, okay, siyempre may variation yon. So you have two alleles present for one gene, they would separate on the gametes. At kung sino yung dominant, siya yung magmamanifest as given by law of dominance. Example of which yung round seed and wrinkled seed. Okay? So dominant yung round seed as compared to wrinkled seed. So magmamanifest yung round seed. And then we have the law of independent assortment. Ang sinasabi ng law of independent assortment ay, okay, yung characteristic one would not affect the manifestation of another characteristic. Example, kung round siya or wrinkled and then kung green siya or yellow yung color ng nung mismong buto nung P, okay? So the one characteristic would not affect the other characteristic. Okay? Let's proceed with item 46. So which law explains that genes are separated from each other during gamete formation and are combined during fertilization? Is it law of dominance, law of segregation, law of independent assortment, or law of incomplete dominance? Okay, please type in your answers. Okay, don't be shy. Okay, what's your answer for item 46? Okay, so sabi dito, genes are separated. So that is our key uh, keyword or key phrase in our question. So dito, sabi nag-separate siya. So the best answer here should be law of segregation. Okay? So yung independent assortment, as mentioned, ang sinasabi lang niya ay, okay, yung isang characteristic or manifestation of one characteristic would not affect the manifestation of the other characteristics, of which later on we would see na it is not always the case. So let's proceed with item 47. What condition comes about when two alleles both appear in the phenotype? Is it codominance, multiple alleles, sex-linked alleles, or incomplete dominance? Okay? So ang sinasabi ng question na to is, kunwari you have a white flower and a red flower, the succeeding plant would have a combination of red and white flowers. Okay? So very good. The answer is codominance. So isa-isayin natin ano yung codominance, okay? Multiple alleles and incomplete dominance. But before we go on, let's say what is sex-linked alleles. Pag sinabi mong sex-linked alleles, this one is present in the X chromosome. Okay? So ang female may X siya, XX ang male naman ay XY. Example of which ay color blindness. So nasa X mo makikita yung defect sa color blindness. Kaya most likely, kung mapapansin natin, karamihan ng color blind ay lalaki kasi wala silang extra X chromosome. So pag carrier na sila nung gene for color blindness, most likely magkakaroon sila ng manifestation ng color blindness. But for female, kung magkaroon man ng isang color blindness gene dito, okay, dahil may extra X chromosome sila, hindi siya magmamanifest. Carrier lang sila. So that is your sex-linked alleles. So first we go with codominance. So we have illustration here. Pag sinabi mong codominance, you have kunwari a plant with red flower and another plant na may white flower. Then you cross them together to produce a hybrid na ang color ng flower niya ay red and white. So both of the characteristic of parents are manifesting in the hybrid plant. Kapag incomplete dominance naman, ang titingnan nyo lang dito ay intermediate ba yung characteristic na makikita dun sa hybrid niya. or dun sa offspring. Or iba yung characteristic na makikita. Example of which would be if you have a plant na ang color niya ay red at ang plant na next would be white naman ang flower, then you cross them, you would have a plant na ang color ng flower ay pink. So we all know that pink is an intermediate between red and white color. Tama? So, hindi nag-manifest yung color nung either red or white, pero intermediate siya, which is pink. So that is your incomplete dominance. Ang multiple allele naman ay, remember, sabi natin, yung isang gene, okay, it would have different variation, your allele. But in our blood type group, okay, it can be represented by capital letter I and small letter I or both capital letter I. Ibig sabihin, dominant siya. Okay? Ito ay dominant at saka recessive. Bear in mind that the blood type antigen A is dominant as well as B. Okay? And yung type O natin is symbolized by small letter I. This is recessive. But in reality, okay, sa population genetics natin or population ecology, majority of Filipinos have blood type O. Kahit recessive yung type O. So, titingnan natin example, letter A, antigen A for allele 1, antigen A for allele 2, okay? Pero ang blood type niya ay A, okay? So we have another organism na meron siyang antigen A at recessive O. Pero ang magmamanifest ay A. Paano kapag present yung parehas na antigen? Okay? So you have A and B. Parehas na yung allele na A and B ay present. So ang magmamanifest sa blood type niya would be AB. Kaya siya tinawag na multiple allele. But bear in mind that the blood type group is also an example of codominance. So kapag lalabas sa let ay wala yung codominance, ang best answer ay multiple allele. Okay? So next, pleiotropy. Di ba naalala niyo yung law of independent assortment na yung isang characteristic and another characteristic would not affect each other. But that's not always the case in the case of albinism. So when I say albinism, there's a problem with skin pigmentation. We have an error with production of melanin. So di ba yung skin color yung melanin, right? But if may defect or let's say we have albinism, okay, affected din yung color of the eye at saka color of the hair. So those are different characteristics but they are affected by the albinism. So given this example, we can say na a gene can also affect other or multiple characteristic or traits of an organism. So, hindi laging true yung independent assortment. And that is your pleiotropy. So, these are your non-Mendelian genetics. Next, let's proceed with item 48. A normal mother and a normal father produce two children, one normal and the other an albino. What kind of genes control the albino such that he had an abnormal skin pigmentation? Is it a mixture of dominant and recessive genes? Is it both dominant or AA, both recessive or lowercase a, or dominance of recessive over dominant genes, or lowercase AA and uppercase A? Please type in your answers. Okay, for item 48. Okay, so bear in mind that albinism is a recessive one. Dapat carrier si mother, carrier din si father. At kapag nag-join yung parehong recessive gene na yon, it would result to an albino child or we call it achromasia. Okay, so the answer is correct, letter C. Okay, next, let's proceed with item 49. So in item 49, we would do Punnett square. In the previous boards, medyo may hirap yung mga Punnett square. But in the recent board, madali na lang sila. Or sometimes, hindi siya lumalabas. But for the sake of reviewing for the licensure exam, I've given an example for you to practice. Okay? So the question is, in humans, pointed eyebrows are dominant over smooth eyebrows. Maria's father has a pointed eyebrows, but she and her mother have smooth What is the genotype of the father? So dito sabi niya, yung smooth eyebrows ay recessive siya. So if you would are going to write it, dapat parehas na small letter B. While yung pointed eyebrows naman, while, okay, can you still see my screen? Okay. So kapag pointed eyebrows, pwede siyang homozygous dominant or heterozygous recessive. Okay. Let me check if viewable pa yung screen ko. Can you react? Hi, thank you for the confirmation, Jeriel and Kisha. Okay, so basically you have homozygous pointed eyebrow or heterozygous uh, pointed eyebrow. So dito, sabi niya, pointed eyebrow na si father niya. So hindi pwedeng recessive to. At hindi siya multiple allele. So tanggalin na natin si CND. So you have kanina 25 chance of getting it correctly. Right now you have 50-50. Okay? So isulat lang natin siya dyan. Okay? So yung mother niya ay small letter B. Okay? Try natin yung father niya. Okay? So you have kunwari B and small letter case B. Okay? So pag isulat natin yan, okay, you would have an uppercase B, a lowercase b. I-criss-cross lang natin yan kapag gumagawa tayo ng Punnett square. Okay? You have an uppercase B, a lowercase b, and then you have a what? A small letter case B, so homozygous recessive siya, and another homozygous recessive. So this one is possible kasi meron kang homozygous recessive. So ito yung possible na sagot. Bakit hindi mag-work yung letter B? Try natin. So pag nag-meet ang homozygous recessive and homozygous dominant, you would have uppercase B, lowercase b in all cases. Kasi i-criss-cross natin yan. You would uppercase B, lowercase b, uppercase B, lowercase b. So we have seen na may apat tayong heterozygous dominant. Therefore, pointed lahat to, hindi smooth. So hindi pwedeng ito yung genotype ng father niya. It would only be letter A. In the actual licensure exam, ang tinatanong naman ay ilan daw yung chance na magiging babae yung anak niya. So ang gagawin lang natin, gagawa ulit tayo ng Punnett square. Kuha ka lang ng box, i-divide mo sa apat. So alam natin kapag babae, XX. Pag lalaki, XY. And then you crisscross it. So X times X, that is XX. X times X, XX. Then X times Y, XY. Okay? X times Y, XY. So you have 2XX and 2XY. So ang probability na magiging daughter yung anak ng parents would be 2 out of 4. So that would be 50%. Okay? So syempre pag tinanong naman kayo paano kapag ano yung ilan yung probability na magiging son siya or biologically son, it would be also 50%. So before we proceed with molecular biology or the molecular biology of the gene, let's have a quick review of the scientists in the history of the terms in genetics and genes. So bear in mind that the term pangen to represent a hereditary characteristic was given by Hugo de Vries. Okay, but this pangen was not popular back then. It was shortened by German scientist Wilhelm Johansen to become gene. And he was also the one responsible for coining the term genotype and phenotype. So if you would be asked in the licensure exam, kung sino yung German nag-coin ng term na gene, your answer should be Wilhelm Johansen. But kapag tinatanong kayo kung sino talaga yung first na nag-coin ng term, that should be Hugo de Vries. Next item would be on William Bateson. Siya yung nag-coin ng term ng genetics as a field of study in around 1905 or early 20th century. But if you would dig deeper in the history of inheritance or study of inheritance, it was actually the sheep breeder Imre Pestetics. Kasi si Emory Prosthetics, inaaral na niya yung pagbe-breed ng mga sheep for their wool. And he was studying or it's not formally study, okay? Nag-interbreed na siya ng sheep in around mga 1816, mga around that time. So doon niya ginamit yung term na genetics. Okay? So if you would be asked kung sino talaga yung unang nag-coin ng term ng genetics, it should be Imre Pastetic. Siya talaga yung nag-pioneer ng study of genetics. Pero if you would be asked kung sino yung German na nag-coin ng term ng genetics, it should be William Bateson. Okay? Next, we proceed this item number 50. In 1952, the Hershey-Chase experiment identified as the molecule responsible for inheritance. Parang mali yung question, but we'll proceed. What is the genetic material? Is it the protein, RNA, amino acids, or DNA? Okay, very good. The answer is DNA. DNA is your genetic material. No, inaaral na yung genetics before or yung inheritance, hindi pa nila alam kung ano yung molecule responsible for inheritance. It was a series of experiments. So I'll just narrate the story para gets natin ano ba yung nangyari. We have a Streptococcus bacteria. Kapag smooth siya, it is pathogenic. Pwede niyang patayin yung mouse. Kapag rough yung cells niya, it is non-pathogenic. So Griffith experiment was the first transformation experiment. So ang ginawa niya, tinry niya yung smooth sa mouse, namatay yung mouse, tinry naman niya yung rough cells, nabuhay yung mouse. Ngayon, yung unang ginawa niya ay pinatay niya yung Streptococcus cells. Ininit niya, pinakuluan niya, at ininject niya sa mouse. Hindi namatay yung mouse. Okay? Next na ginawa niya ay yung smooth cells, pinakuluan niya ulit, tapos minix niya together with rough cells. Tapos ininject niya sa mouse. And nagkaroon ng clinical manifestation yung mouse, namatay siya. So this transformation experiment, okay, was the first one to indicate na may genetic material that would what? Carry the genetic information. And it was done by Avery and McLeod and McCarthy kasi tinry nila lahat, okay, yung mga different setups. Meron siyang nilagyan niya ng, let's say, lipases, nilagyan niya ng RNAs, nilagyan niya ng DNA such that, okay, masisira yung bawat biomolecule. In the case of other biomolecule, okay, lahat sila nagmanifest ng bacterial transformation except dun sa nilagyan nila ng DNase. So what is DNase? DNase is an enzyme that would degrade your DNA. So that experiment proved that possibly your DNA is not or DNA is your genetic material. But that's not conclusive experiment. It was actually Hershey and Chase. So anong experiment ito? Gumamit sila ng bacteriophage, infecting a bacteria. So bacteriophage is a virus that would infect bacteria. And through the bacteriophage experiment, they were able to radio label that the genetic material is actually your DNA and not protein. Kasi nagtataka sila kasi 'di ba you have 20 amino acids while as opposed to DNA na may apat na nitrogenous base. Can you type in what are these nitrogenous base ng DNA? You have adenine, right? Your guanine, those are your purine nucleotide, and then your pyrimidine nucleotides are your cytosine and thymine. So nagtataka sila kasi you only have 4 nucleotides. Paano i-carry ng or paano magkikarry yun ng genetic information? Okay, through the experiment of these people or scientists, they were able to deduce that the genetic materials is indeed your DNA. Okay, next we go with item 51. Okay, so which of the following is true of phosphate in DNA? Letter A, it gives off hydrogen ions because it is an acid. Letter B, it joins with other phosphates. Letter C, it is part of the backbone. Letter D, it joins base to base. Please type in your answers. Okay, very good. It should be letter C. It is part of the backbone. Remember, the backbone of the DNA is the phosphodiester bond. The one that would stabilize the double helix is your hydrogen bond. Okay? So let's see. Ano ba yung nucleotide? Nucleotide is a combination of a nitrogenous base, a deoxyribose sugar, and a phosphate group. Pag wala tong phosphate group na to, ang tawag lang sa kanya ay nucleoside. Kapag may phosphate group na siya, nucleotide siya. So yung nitrogenous base natin, ang pairing natin ay adenine and thymine and guanine and cytosine. To remember it easily, remember the phrase apples in trees, cars in garage. So your adenine would base pair with thymine, may dalawang hydrogen bond yan, and then your guanine would base pair with cytosine. So may tatlong hydrogen bond ito. Okay? So mas stable yung base pairing ni guanine and cytosine as compared to adenine and thymine. At may impact yun sa uh, DNA analysis, or let's say you perform PCR. Okay? But for the sake of the licensure exam, you just need to remember apples in trees and cars in garage. Ano ba yung structure ng DNA natin? Tandaan natin ha, it's a double helix. Anti-parallel siya. So ibig sabihin nito, yung isang end mo magra-run siya ng 3' to 5', and then yung isang strand mo naman magra-run siya at 5' to 3'. So it would have a right-handed helix. At itong mga to were proposed by Watson and Crick in around 1953 rather. But the Nobel Prize was given in 1962 together with Maurice Wilkins. But crucial to this double helical structure was the work of which scientist? Ang initial siya ay RF. Anyone? Can you type in? It was the work of Rosalind, correct, Rosalind Franklin. Siya yung gumawa ng X-ray diffraction. Okay? And it was, kasi binigay yung Nobel Prize in 1962, pero sadly, si Rosalind Franklin died in 1958. And remember that Nobel Prize is not given posthumously. So if you have invented or let's say discovered something very important or breakthrough, dapat buhay ka para mabigyan ka ng Nobel Prize. Okay? Next, we proceed with the hierarchy of organization. Tandaan natin to ha. So, ang arrangement sa prokaryotic genome, single circular lang siya. Okay? Circular yung DNA niya. At meron siyang pwedeng magkaroon ng plasmid. So aside from its circular DNA, may plasmid siya. At kadalasan ang plasmid, kailangan to like for, let's say, antibiotic resistance, okay, of prokaryotic organisms. Tayong mga eukaryotic organisms like us animals, mammals, may dalawa tayong DNA or genetic material. Meron tayong nuclear DNA and mitochondrial DNA. Ang mitochondrial DNA, remember that, nakukuha natin to through our mothers. But in the recent advances, pwede din daw siyang ipasa ng father. But remember, for the licensure exam, maternal ang nagpapasa ng mitochondrial DNA. So, ano ba yung arrangement ng eukaryotic nuclear DNA? Kunwari ito yung DNA natin, that's around 3.1 billion base pairs. Okay? So it's a heteropolymer of nucleotide. Okay? So meron para siyang yoyo. So beads on string. Ang tawag mo doon ay nucleosome. So it's a combination of DNA and histone proteins. Okay? Tapos itong histone proteins na to, they would pack together to form your chromatin fiber. And then this chromatin fiber would loop together to form your chromosome. So yung arrangement natin ay nucleosome, chromatin fiber, and nucleosome, chromatin fiber, and chromosome. Yun yung arrangement ng nuclear DNA. For plants, meron ding DNA yung chloroplast ng plants. So there was a question in the previous boards ng question ganito. Uh, what is the common for in bacteria, in chloroplast, and mitochondria? So you would see, dapat meron siyang phospholipid bilayer. But actually, that's not the answer. The answer is they contain a small or limited genetic makeup. So if you're going to encounter that again in the licensure exam, So your answer should be they contain limited genetic up. Okay, so let's answer item 52. So which of the following would be true if 30% of an organism's DNA is thymine? Letter A, 30% would be guanine. Letter B, 30% would be adenine. Letter C, 70% would be pyrimidine. Or letter D, 70% would be purine. Okay, can you type in your answers? Okay, and I can see the answer is B. How about the others? Okay, so you're calculating. That's a good sign that you understand this problem. So in order to answer this one, let's recall Chargaff's rule. Okay, so this is Chargaff's. Based on his study, he was able to see that the percentage of adenine is almost equal to the percentage of thymine. And the percentage of guanine is almost equal to percentage of cytosine. So given a problem with this one, 20% of the bases in a DNA, so remember, applicable to sa DNA kasi double strand siya. Okay? So are found to be thymine. What percent of the bases of the same molecule are guanine? So sabi niya, 20% IT. So kung equal siya sa adenine, that should also be 20%. So pag in-add mo yan, that is 40%. I-minus natin sa 100%, that should be 60%. So itong 60% na to, paghahatian pa ni cytosine and what? Guanine. So i-divide lang natin ito sa 2. So you have 30% cytosine and 30% guanine. So ang answer dito, very good. The answer should be letter, okay, letter B. Kasi 30% yung thymine natin, therefore dapat equal siya sa adenine. Okay? Next item, we go with the DNA replication. So item 53, true of DNA replication. Letter A, DNA replication said to be done non-conservative. Letter B, replication proceeds in only one direction. Letter C, DNA is translated to give rise to proteins. Letter D, each new DNA molecule contains one old and one new strand. Please type in your answer. So the question is, which of the following is true of DNA replication? Okay, I've seen your answers. Okay, so let's recall what is the flow of genetic information. The flow of genetic information is your DNA is being duplicated or replicated. You call it DNA replication. And if that DNA would produce a command, you call the process transcription. Di ba pag kumukuha ka ng reseta, ang tawag doon ay transcript. Tama? So you have DNA to RNA transcription. And then when this DNA becomes your protein, okay, the process is called translation. At kapag inaaral natin yung replication, the process is semi-conservative at it follows a bidirectional process. Ibig sabihin, may nagkakopy sa 5' to 3' at you have a 3' to 5'. Ito yung leading strand. Ito yung 5' to 3' template naman na strand would be your lagging strand. Remember, ang pag-copy ay nagbe-base sa base pairing. Okay? So let's differentiate the three. Ano ba yung semi-conservative, dispersive, and conservative? Kapag sinabi mong conservative, pag di ba nagkopya siya ng DNA, dapat yung isang DNA molecule natin, yung strands niya parehas na parent, tapos yung daughter, yung ano niya, yung second strand or second DNA molecule would be both daughter strands. Ibig sabihin bago siya. Well, yung dispersive naman, naghahalo, nagmi-mix together yung new strand at saka yung old strand. But in the case of semi-conservative, ang nangyayari ay you have an old strand, yung parent strand natin, tapos meron tayong newly synthesized daughter strand. At through the experiment of Mendelssohn and Stahl, they were able to determine that the process of DNA replication is semi-conservative, indicating that kapag nakopya yung DNA, Yung dalawang na-synthesize na DNA natin would contain a parent strand or the old one and a daughter strand or the newly synthesized DNA. So balik tayo sa item number 53. So ang best answer dito ay letter D. So all of you got it correctly. That's good. Okay. Next, ano ba yung replication fork? Okay? Ang replication fork ay yung locations kung saan nagkakaroon ng DNA replication. So ano yung mga kailangan yung tandaan dito? In the recent board kasi, there were questions in DNA replication, but the most recent one, wala. But this one is a good to know. So, syempre, yung double strand natin, naka-pair siya, di ba? May anti-parallel double helix tayo. Dapat maghiwalay yon. So, sino yung mag-a-unzip ng DNA natin? Doon ang DNA helicase. Remember that your nucleotide can base pair. They can form hydrogen bond. So, pag in-unzip ni helicase, pwede sila ulit bumalik sa original. So, para ma-prevent yon, meron tayong tinatawag na SSBs or single-strand binding proteins. They would stabilize the unwound DNA. Tapos yung naglalagay ng newly synthesized DNA ay yung DNA polymerase natin. Okay? So pag tinanong kayo sa board exam, what is the enzyme that adds new nucleotides? Ang isasagot nyo ay DNA polymerase. As mentioned, meron tayong, what you call this one? Meron tayong leading strand, tapos meron tayong lagging strand. Ito kasi discontinuous ang pagkakopy ng DNA sa lagging strand. So putol-putol yung pagkokopya. So syempre, ang DNA dapat hindi siya putol-putol. So ang nagsisil ng nick ay yung DNA ligase. So if you would be asking the board sino yung nagsisil ng nick or break sa DNA strand natin, that would be your DNA ligase. Okay? Next, let's answer item 54. What enzyme is responsible for adding new nucleotides to a growing DNA chain during DNA replication? Is it ribozymes? It is helicase? Is it RNA polymerase or DNA polymerase? Okay, please type in your answers. Okay, very good. It should be DNA polymerase. Okay? Later on, we would see ano ba yung ribozymes at saka RNA polymerase. So let's define what is mutation. So it was asked in the recent board exam. Mutation is any change in our nucleotide sequence. Dalawa yung cause nito. It can be natural or induced. Kapag sinabi mong natural, di ba nagkaroon ng DNA replication? Nagkakaroon ng error sa replication. Replication error. Di ba pag halimbawa tayo nagka-copy tayo, di ba nagkakaroon din tayo ng error? So yung DNA polymerase can also commit error. Like kunwari, instead na adenine yung i-pair niya sa thymine, nagiging G. Tapos yung next na masisynthesize would be CG na. Okay? So that is normal. But that is corrected by different mechanisms of our cells. So that is natural cause. Kapag induced naman, these are your mutagens, UV rays, X-rays, and some viruses like your hepatitis B, hepatitis C, HIV, human papilloma virus, the one that causes cervical cancer. So they can cause mutation. So kapag chemicals that would cause mutation, ang tawag sa kanya ay mutagen. Example nito ay yung nitrate sa kinakain nating tosino. The more na pink kasi yung tosino, malaking chance, except kapag nilagyan siya ng food coloration, malaking chance na mataas yung salitre niya. Kasi yung salitre doon, ginagamit pang preserve. Tapos kapag ang ginamit pa sa hotdog ay liver, atay, that would result to formation of nitrosamines. Kaya nga dapat yung hotdog, hindi siya nilalagyan ng additive na liver. Dapat meat lang talaga siya. Okay? So others would be UV rays. Okay, you can see our cells, di ba? Pag namumula tayo sa sunburn, those are actually cells committing suicide. Okay? Nag-apoptosis sila kasi nag-accumulate yung DNA mutation sa kanila. Okay? So let's answer this item. What is the central dogma of molecular biology? By the way, yung question sa mutation in the previous board ay definition question lang siya at saka ano daw yung mga, which of the following is not cause of DNA mutation? So we have mentioned the causes na. Okay, so let's proceed with item 55. So what is the central dogma of molecular biology? Translation precedes transcription. Letter B, DNA is a template only for DNA replication. Letter C, DNA is a template for all RNA production. Or letter D, molecular biology pertains only to prokaryotes because humans are unique. Okay, please type in your answer. Okay, so let's proceed with ano ba yung central dogma? Okay, so tandaan natin, ang central dogma, it pertains to the genetic flow from DNA to RNA and RNA to protein. Particularly, ang tawag mo dito ay gene expression. So dalawa yung process niya, transcription and translation. So kapag sinabi mong transcription, you use DNA as your template to make a command. So you have RNA. At in eukaryotic organism, yung RNA hindi pa siya mature. We call it hnRNA. So may mga enzyme na magka-cut dyan. You call them ribozymes. Ang mga ribozymes, gawa sila sa nucleic acid din. So, you would know na hindi lahat ng enzymes ay protein. Some of them are made of nucleotide. Okay? So, yung ribozymes, ikakat niya, gagawa siya ng mRNA. At itong mRNA na to, lalabas siya, sasama siya sa mga ribosomes to become or to proceed with translation. Tama? So, mauna muna yung transcription bago yung translation. So balik tayo dun sa item na to. Translation precedes transcription. This is false. Next item, DNA is template only for DNA replication. So yung may term na only, actually mali ito. Kasi sa DNA replication, yes, template siya. Pero sa paggawa ng RNA, template din natin yung DNA. So in the actual licensure exam, mag-ingat kayo sa always, only, seldom, not, at saka never. Okay? Lalo na itong mga absolute ano natin, yung mga absolute terms. Okay? So yung mga absolute na to, kadalasan they would result to what? To a uh, to incorrect statement. Okay? Can you correct your answers na? It should be letter C. DNA is a template for all RNA production. So as an overview, dapat pala aralin nyo yung mga different types of RNA like your mRNA, your snRNA, your ribosomal RNA, and tRNA. Just in case nalalabas sila sa board exam. So let's proceed with the last 5 items. Number 56, in what particular step of protein synthesis do ribosomes participate in? Is it cell division, transcription, translation, replication? Okay, correct. Your answer is translation. So doon lang nagpa-participate ang ribosome. Next item, punta tayo sa mga techniques. The technique that involves finding the exact location of a gene in the 46 chromosomes of a human cell is called, is it gene mapping, DNA sequencing, gene cloning, or recombinant mapping? Okay, so sabi niya, finding the exact location. You call this one, okay, correct? It should be gene mapping. So before we proceed with the next items, let's have a quick review. Ano ba yung mga DNA techniques? First one, how do we separate DNA molecules kapag na-extract natin sila? Gagamit tayong tinatawag na gel electrophoresis. So basically, you have a gel, an agarose gel slab. Ito yung parang ano natin, parang nagpe-perform tayo ng ano, ng chromatography. Pero ang gamit natin ay agarose gel. Pag in-apply mo yan with a TAE buffer, magsiseparate yung DNA depending on their sizes. The more na magaan yung DNA natin, the more na magta-travel siya pababa. The more na mabigat siya, the more na magstay siya sa taas. So that is your agarose gel electrophoresis. Actually, in proteins, meron din tayong tinatawag na SDS page. So magkaiba yan ha. SDS page is for protein, agarose gel electrophoresis for DNA. At may tinatawag tayong PCR. Ano ba ang PCR? Polymerase chain reaction. Basically, it's a technique to amplify your DNA. You make copies using a thermal cycler. Next ay, ano yung gene sequencing and gene mapping? Pag sinabi mong gene sequencing, you are trying to determine kung ilan or kung ano yung DNA sequences natin. Ano yung nucleotide na magkakasunod for a given sample like DNA. Saan natin to ginagamit? Example, sa bacteria, meron siyang 16S. Okay? So, ang gagawin mo dyan, extract mo yung DNA niya, tapos ipapasequence mo. And then, pag nakuha mo yung DNA sequence niya, i-run mo siya sa bioinformatic tool, tapos titignan mo saan siya maglalapat. Pag naglapat siya, ma-identify mo na kung anong bacteria siya, kung E. coli ba siya, kung Staphylococcus aureus ba siya, etc. So, you do gene sequencing if you want to determine the nucleotide sequence. Okay, next would be gene mapping. Ang gene mapping ay hahanapin natin sa chromosomes natin kung saan ba located yung gene. At ginagamit to for certain genetic disorder. Like kunwari yung AML, okay? AML would be a translocation of a gene from one chromosome to another chromosome. Okay? So next, we proceed with this item number 58. In treating genetic disorders, how does genetic technology employ gene therapy? Letter A, gene therapy concentrates primarily on altering dysfunctional proteins. Letter B, gene therapy entails substituting a complete chromosome with a healthy one. Letter C, gene therapy introduces functional gene into individuals afflicted with genetic disorder. Or letter D, gene therapy modifies the sequence of all genes in an individual. Please type in your answer. Okay, very good. The answer is letter C. Kapag gene therapy, isa lang or possibly a set of genes lang yung kinokorek. Paano ba nangyayari yon? So remember this one kasi may question before in the majorship, tinatanong yung sequence ng gene therapy. So gene therapy is a technique to introduce an altered gene, a functional gene. So first step, they would collect cells from an infected individual. Kukunin nila yung cells na yon, and then they would have the corrected gene, lalagay nila sa bacteriophage, at itong bacteriophage na to, i-infect niya yung harvested cells. So this cell would be infected such that it would become transgenic, meaning nandun na yung bagong gene na corrected. At itong cell na to na may corrected gene would be transplanted again dun sa person. So ano mangyayari? Paano niya makokorek? Remember, yung cell natin, nagmamitosis sila, nagsi-cell divide sila. So pag nag-divide sila na nag-divide, i-overlap or uh, mas dadami sila compared dun sa cell na may defect na gene. So kapag dumami na sila, sila na yung nagpopulate ng mismong tissue. So meron ng corrected gene. So that's how you do gene therapy. Next item, number 59, second to the last item. Which initiative was first recognized for successfully sequencing all the genes in the human body? Is it GMO project, Human Genome Project, Human Microbiome Project, or Earth Microbiome Project? Okay? So sabi dito, sequencing all the genes. So at magtanggal na tayo ng option. Tanggal na yung microbiome project. Kasi pag sinabi mong microbiome, all the bacteria. Saan yung mga bacteria na dyan? Particularly sa gut, Okay, sa skin natin, sa buhok or other skin parts. So inaaral kasi ito kasi particularly sa gut, it can affect different diseases like diabetes. So kapag daw nagkaroon ng problem or nagkaroon ng changes sa population ng gut microbiota, okay, it can result to certain diseases like it can overstimulate our immune system, and then it would kill your beta cells, resulting to lower insulin production, resulting to diabetes. So that's one of the application of microbiome project. Kapag sinabi mong Earth Microbiome Project naman, ito yung mga bacteria at different location. Example, sa dagat, sa ilog or sa lake, okay? Sa soil natin. Kasi pag alam natin yung mga bacteria na present doon, pwede tayong makadiscover ng possible antibiotic. Like your erythromycin, it was discovered in a soil bacteria. Okay? So the answer here should be letter B. Human Genome Project. Ano ba yung Human Genome Project na yan? Okay? So remember, nag-start siya on October 1990 at crucial dun sa paggawa dito ay yung paggawa ng PCR ni ni Mullis. Okay? So, nag-start siya at 1990, natapos siya ng April 2003. This was a project of the US National Institute of Health. And they were able to determine that ang DNA natin may 3 billion base pairs. Base pairs to. So roughly mga 6.2 bases. Billion bases meron tayo. At yung sa genes natin, around 21% would code for protein or would serve as a regulatory function. Okay? So only 3% of the 21,000 gene would make up the DNA. So majority nung part nung 6.2 billion bases natin or 3 billion bases natin ay tinatawag na junk DNA. Bakit tinatawag na junk DNA? Kasi possibly hindi pa alam yung purpose nila in life. But in different recent studies, they were attributed to like a development of diseases or possibly gene regulation. Ibig sabihin, pag gawa ng protein can be regulated by certain portion of those junk DNA. So tandaan natin to, it's a human genome project. So tandaan din natin yung mga sequence ng pag-aaral kasi there were questions in the recent board na i-arrange yung mga investigation. Like kunwari, Mendel study was around published in 1866. Yung study ni Darwin is in 1859. So na-discover yung term na genetics, it's around 1905. Tapos ito, 1992, yung Human Genome Project. So kung isi-sequence nyo sila, mauna muna si Darwin. Susunod yung kay Gregor Mendel, and then yung term na genetics. And then last would be the Human Genome Project. So last item tayo. CBC is to blood chemistry test, while COVID-19 test is it aspirate culture and sensitivity? Letter B, CSF culture and sensitivity. Letter C, reverse transcription polymerase chain reaction. Or letter D, saliva culture and sensitivity. Type in your answers. Okay, the best answer here is RT-PCR. Ang ginagawa nila, kaya sila kumukuha sa ilong or sa possibly sa cheek, okay, or saliva, okay? Pero mas effective yung dito sa nasal. Okay? Kumukuha sila ng sample ng RNA virus at i-run nila ito pagka-extract ng genetic material, your RNA, i-run nila sa RT-PCR. Ano ba yung RT-PCR? Para siyang PCR pero meron siyang reverse transcriptase enzyme. Most of the virus kasi, like your COVID-19, HIV, HCV, at saka influenza viral virus, are caused by RNA. So ang gagawin ng RT-PCR ay, yung RNA mo, i-convert niya to cDNA. Pag na-convert na siya, saka siya i-count. So merong cycles yan. So i-run siya sa thermal cycler. So your reverse transcription polymerase chain reaction can determine or can count the viral load in the sample. So doon madedetect na kung may COVID ka ba, HIV, HCV, or influenza viral infection. So remember, this one is applicable only to RNA viruses. So kapag DNA viruses siya, hindi siya okay gamitin. So there was a question in the previous board na ang question ay, which of the following diseases cannot be detected using RT-PCR? Ang hahanapin nyo doon ay yung mga DNA viruses. So example of which would be your smallpox caused by variola, your HPV, at saka yung varicella zoster virus, the one that causes chickenpox. They are not detected by RT-PCR. No, possible siya, pero medyo hindi siya efficient. Okay? So, it can also be used for detecting defective genes, particularly your BRCA1 and BRCA2. Ano to yung BRCA1, BRCA2 na to? These genes, kapag may error, can result to breast cancer. So, pwede mong i-quantify if meron bang mga defective genes dito. And the doctor can determine or genetic counselor can determine kung ilan yung percentage ng risk mo for developing certain cancers like your breast cancer, pwede din sa colon cancer. So that's the function of RT-PCR. And that concludes our review of items or catch-up review for molecular biology and genetics. Again, thank you for attending this session. Have a restful night and see you on Sunday for our microbiology catch-up review. I'll end this meeting na.